This is not the last game of the domestic season in England. There is still, for City, 2 rounds of matches to go, 2 rounds in which they have to get results if they're going to return to the Champions League next season. They have Bournemouth on Tuesday at the Etihad, and then it's back to London, Craven Cottage, Fulham on May the 25th.
Well, I just wouldn't put my... I mean, I think they'll make it, but I wouldn't put the house on it.
Nope.
Deflated, tired,
Frustrated.
frustrated would be another thing.
At least they're at home.
They're at home in one of them.
The first one.
They're playing.
I think that's key. I think that's
But Bournemouth won't go.
thing.
But Bournemouth won't go to the Etihad and park the bus.
No.
They'll go and try and play.
Of course.
And so it'll be an open game, which might help them, and it might not.
Aye.
And then Fulham at the Cottage. So there is no guarantee at the moment, really. The way, if this was City of 2 years ago and they had a little blip and somehow they were in this position, you'd have gone, yeah, they'll just pick it up and they'll go. But they've fallen down such a steep cliff this year. Well, you mentioned Rodri. Well, of course, he was the best holding midfielder in the world until his injury. There's not much doubt about that. But that one player didn't make them fall off that cliff as far as that. It might have thrown a few awkward results up, but it didn't make them go on that run. It was all the other problems: the lack of legs, the poor defence, the signings not in form. Doku, Savinho. Certainly, Savinho hasn't worked out. I mean, we watched a lot of him at Girona. He was brilliant.
Yep.
And in the Premier League and in England, he looks lightweight, absolutely lightweight. So a lot of things for City this season have just not worked.
There's a lack of trust as well in a team when that happens. You know, when you're everything's going well, you're winning games at that level, you don't think twice because you know that if you make a run, somebody's going to cover the hole. And if it's not one, it's going to be another. And everybody's doing that all around the field. And so you're just playing, knowing where people are going to be. The situation City are in now is everybody's looking around wondering if there's going to be somebody there.
Yeah.
And that's at this level, that is huge, absolutely huge.
How does today's result, Nedum's back with us by the way, affect City going into Tuesday's tie?
I think it will matter in some ways because what the manager's going to say to those players after the game will basically dictate the feel around the club. You know, they'll have to train tomorrow. What's he going to be like? What's he going to say to them? Are the players going to need to be picked up? Or they're the type that can sort of like self-motivate as well? Because these next 2 games are essentially must-wins at this point. You know, as you've shown on the sort of diagram there, or the screen just there, they're in 6th. Man City are in 6th. We're talking about top 5. All of a sudden, that result against Southampton feels really, really bad now. You thought perhaps it won't age well. It's aged terribly. So they need to get over this disappointment. They need to be able to have this full house. And it's going to be an emotional game as well because that's De Bruyne's last at the Etihad. So he'll want to do well. The fans will want to come and sing for him. But if it was to end with disappointment, you go into that last game against Fulham, hoping that other results go your way, that is a catastrophic end to what's been a very, very strange season by City's standards. So yes, there's disappointment.
Will he play him, Nedum?
Sorry, go on.
Will he play him at the Etihad? Will he play the sentimental card? Or
Should he play him?
Well, you know what I mean?
Aye.
I think he will. I think he will play him. The sentimental card is there, but the fact is, like, if you don't play him, like, who's guaranteed to be in the side that's going to do better at the moment? Because you can look at, say, someone like Phil Foden, for example, who was great last season in the 10. You know, he's had so many issues this year, and he's not been anywhere near his best. So you think, well, who's going to play the 10 then? Well, for Guardiola, the man is still Kevin De Bruyne as it stands. We'll see what his recovery is like, I imagine. We'll see what the mentality is like. But he'll want to go out well. De Bruyne, the club means a lot to him. This sort of finish to the season will mean a lot to him. He's very disappointed after that result just then. And they want to go out in a positive manner so they can have belief going into that next game against Fulham and finish the season with loads of disappointments, but still know that before they head off to the Club World Cup, they'll know they'll have Champions League football next year. And it seems like such a basic goal, but tell me what else they can fight for right now.
I mean, listen, I know De Bruyne wants to go out in some sort of, it's not a high now really, but, you know, win against Bournemouth at home, an ovation, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? Manager wants to win the last 2 games.
Yeah, how sentimental.
And if he thinks, and I'm not, but he thinks he's maybe too tired after that, or he's not played well enough, or it's going to be a different game, he might have a decision to make, and it might not be a decision that De Bruyne likes. Who knows? But that's kind of where we are with Kevin De Bruyne at the moment, isn't it? Discussing whether he'll play or not in the second last game of the season.
Just City overall, Nedum. It's a big summer, of course, for Pep Guardiola and this side in general, and you look at, well, who can they bring in to boost this team? The concern that I'd have if I was a City fan is that the players that you've had have all been bang average this season, have all played a lot worse than they did last year, and the players that you brought in have been very 5 and 6 out of 10.
Yeah, they have been. I think that's a fair assessment as such. But I think for some of those players, they'll be hoping for the next season to just have more health and better fitness. So, for example, Nathan Ake spent a long time on the sidelines. You've seen the same for John Stones. I think the same for like Akanji. Even Ruben Diaz for the first 2/3 of the season spent a lot of time on the sidelines. And then you look again at the number 6, who was a Ballon d'Or in Rodri. He was out for the whole year. Haaland even this year has had some time out as well. I think it was probably 2-3 months. There's so many guys who want to be able to find good form. And I think they will believe in themselves because they know they have the quality. And for those new signings to come in, respectfully, for the last few years, this has probably been the hardest time to come in at City because the flow isn't there. Teams approach City in a different manner. I think at times they were playing people at the back who we wouldn't never expect to see at the back. Would you expect to see a Mateus Nunes or a Nicol O'Reilly playing in fullbacks when they're attacking midfielders? Would you have seen a Jemai Simpson-Poussey under 18 who basically was thrust in there because no one else was available? Absolutely not. And that run that they went on, you could see it affected the confidence. The feel wasn't there. Even in the stadium, people had anxiety. And I think for them, it's about restoring belief in themselves individually, as a group, and the fan base itself. And once those players do come back in, it might not potentially end up being as good as we've seen in years gone by. But let's be realistic. It has to be better than it has been this year because so many players, as you've said, have underperformed. And for them, as long as they finish in the top 5 or whatever, they can go away to the Club World Cup thinking, well, this is a positive. Well, what can we do now in this tournament, which unfortunately for some is going to take over a lot of their summer.